Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, I thought we would do a comparison between the original NECA Terrordogs and the recently released Diamond Select Terrordog. This was actually a viewer requested video. A couple actually you guys asked, how does the Diamond Select Terrordog stack up against the original released NECA Terrordog? So I thought we would do this video and hopefully kind of go through the pros and the cons of both figures and then try to figure out which one is the best release of the two. So let's just take some quick measurements and we'll see kind of who, first of all, the NECA Terrordog, if you count technically the back heel, a little spike right there, to the front of its nose, is about 8 inches long. And for its height, it's about 4.5, about 4.5 inches tall. The Diamond Select one, on the other hand, you're looking at about 8 inches long, and to its highest, give or take about closer to 5 inches. So the Diamond Select is a little bit longer, a little bit taller than the NECA version. But they have some pros, they have some cons. Some things I think one company did a little bit better than the other. And we're going to go through that together. So with the original NECA release, and I've done the reviews of these guys twice now. If you haven't had a chance to go check that out, it's actually, I'm just going to do, go on my channel, just search Terrordogs, and you'll see the original review, and you'll also see the throwback or re-review of them. So with the NECA releases, these guys right here, they came in both the Zool, or Dana Barrett release, as well as the Vince Clortho Keymaster releases. So you can see, for example, the Vince Clortho has the longer horns, and the Zool has the shorter horns. And Diamond Select, basically what they did was they just gave you the swappable horn, so you just mix and match depending on which one that you wanted to go with. One of the notable things about these Terrordogs too was the fact that they lit up. You just press the little tail on the back and their eyes lit up. And I have to say this, I'm still surprised that these eyes light up after all these years. You can't keep them on, you just have to hold the tail down for the eyes to light up. Battery compartments on the underside there. But I'm still, again, surprised that those eyes light up. So I have to admit, that's kind of one plus that the NECA releases have that, the Diamond Select didn't have. Diamond Select just favored getting, lighting, just coloring the eyes so they're always that kind of glowing red. I also haven't noticed, well, I've noticed myself, that the horns, I couldn't quite get the horns to line up properly. Ultimately, though, they just kind of peg in. You can't really rotate them all that much, but I couldn't quite get the same sort of flow that the NECA released versions of the Terrordogs had. One of the things that the Terrordogs for the NECA releases favored more so having them as statues. There's very little posability on these. In fact, you can rotate the head about there, back and forth. The mouths, of course, open up, and you've got the swivel just on the elbow areas here. Nothing in the feet. The feet you can't rotate or anything like that. You can rotate the back legs, and I think that's actually it. That's about all you can really do with them. So they're pre-posed in most regards, but one of the things that they do benefit from is they give you automatically the natural stance for how the Terrordog should stand, which is one of the same plaguing issues that I find even to this day I'm still having issues with when it came to the Diamond Select version. Superposable, yes, but to try to get him properly in a good Terrordog stance was actually quite difficult. I mentioned in the initial review that the legs seem extremely long, and what I actually ended up doing was I took kind of the cues from how NECA sculpted theirs, and I tried to do the exact same thing with the Diamond Select release. So I noticed, I think when I did the initial review, that the leg was rotated the other way around, and even a couple of viewers said rotate the leg back the opposite way. and then you can get that hinge going as far back as you can get them on both of like the mid leg area. And then from there you can just kind of play around with the second part of the leg so that you've got that hind leg kind of bend that the original NECA had. Now, unfortunately, with it being posable, you can probably see one thing too, that one betters over the other. NECA, because they didn't have nearly the posability that would be required to make this guy fully articulated, you get a much more chunkier, natural looking leg. Like the flow of the body and the leg itself looks a little bit more kind of gelled together. The Diamond Select, nothing negatively against it, because they tried their best to make this a posable figure, but you can see like it's a very much a night and day comparison between how the leg bends on the NECA version as pre-sculpted versus a articulated leg. If anything, what I think they should have done was actually have a lot less joints in the back of the leg, and maybe favored, I don't know, maybe even favored having this as one sculpt. Just one sculpt here and have a hinge at the top. And then only have the posable part being the bottom here. So the leg could still hinge outward. You could still rotate it, but then this was fully sculpted here as opposed to having that hinged and hinged. It does make it look a little sectional. I did kind of the same thing on the front to try to again mimic how NECA had theirs. NECA's got again a very broad stance, very broad shoulder area here, going to a leg and the way that the leg is sitting. I kind of bent the leg outward, and I hinged the knuckle or the elbow or the knee area, I guess, of the leg to try to bend that as far back as I could so that it got the wide stance and it was a little bit more lower profile. One thing I wish that the Diamond Select had was, let me see if I can show you what I mean. I wish it actually had it where you could hinge the foot, because as good as I can get this area, the foot sits kind of on angles. Whereas if you would be able to rotate this, or like rotate it this way, you could actually have the feet a little bit more flatter. So for sculpt, I would have to say NECA gets this. Wrinkles are beautiful on this. Again, I like the stance of the legs. You can't really get much in the way of posability, but the trade-off, though, is you get something that looks a little bit more screen accurate. What I would say, though, that Diamond Select did, though, as a slight better to NECA, is, I would say, the face. If you look at the two faces, NECA's have got almost too long of a snout, which I didn't actually really notice until I started like looking at this one, and I was looking at screen footage, and the Terrordog doesn't have nearly the snout that the NECA one would present. The NECA one almost kind of looks a little bit more like a rat face, if I can show you the side here, versus what Diamond Select did. It doesn't have nearly as much the wrinkles and the little creases and little details and stuff like that too. But I feel like the head sculpt on the Diamond Select might actually be better than the one with the NECA. Although it's to be said, I really like the bottom lip area here of the NECA version. May not be 100% correct, but I do really like how you've got that little canine lip that just kind of sits out from the bottom here. The teeth are pretty nice. The tongue is nicely done. But I might actually have to say, I would give it sculpt-wise for the face, I would probably give it to Diamond Select versus what we got here with NECA. One of the other things that I wanted to look at too was coloring. Now, I don't think either of them actually get the proper coloring down. I don't feel it's as nearly as dark as the movie Terrordog. I don't think it's as nearly as dark as what Diamond Select did, but I feel it's also darker than what NECA did. If the colors were in between, I would say it's a better accurate read to how it looks in the movie. Like, this is a little too dark for my liking. it should have been a little slightly shade lighter, but I think the NECA one could have been a little bit darker. Now again, in the movie there's lighting and stuff like that, so it will vary. Sometimes the Terrordog does appear a little bit darker than it does in other scenes. But I would think on a coloring end of it, I might actually give it closer to Diamond Select for getting a closer color. That the NECA ones come across a little bit too light by comparison. When, of course, we come to Poseability, well, the Poseability, it's pretty much night and day. Once again, you've got an abundance of articulation here on the Diamond Select release, and very little on the NECA, but the flow and just the way it looks more like the pose of the dog, clearly NECA's got, I think, the better looking pose. Diamond Select, I think they did a good job on wanting to make a Terrordog poseable, but ultimately giving it just too many joints to worry about. I think it ended up taking a little bit away from the Terrordog. What you could have easily done is, again, make one joint, one sculpted leg, and then only make hingeable areas. Maybe even like this leg didn't necessarily need to be two ball joints or two hinges. They could have easily just had one leg and then maybe just had the poseable legs down below. So you could still hinge the legs outward, but it just didn't look as individual sections, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Again, like I really think the head sculpt is where Diamond Select far surpassed NECA. I mean, I love these head sculpts, and I love the sculpts of the body, but I do think, though, that Diamond Select did do a better job when it comes to the head sculpt, giving us a more snout and less more like a rodent. Back in the day, this was, I mean, the only way we had Terrordogs, so I think back in the day it was still good, but I think that Diamond Select might have surpassed NECA in the way of an actual likeness that looks more like the Terrordog from the movie itself. All in all, I mean, obviously each figure has its pros and its cons. The pros for the NECA release, or the NECA releases, being that there were two of them, was the fact that you had two different Terrordogs. I mean, you could ultimately buy two of these and just change out the horns. But the pros definitely were the fact that the eyes lit up. That's always a good thing. The pose and sculpt was a little bit more accurate to the movie. It looked like it had a more natural flow. Diamond Select's things, I think that the pros are the fact that the head sculpt's better. The coloring, I think, is a little bit better as well than NECA's. But unfortunately, what plagues this particular figure is just the excess and unnecessary articulation points that I really didn't think the Terrordog necessarily needed to have. But again, like, there's your two comparisons. We don't really need one of these. We'll just move that off camera. But there's your two comparisons, because I know a couple people asked, what are the differences between, or can you do a video where you do the articulation and kind of just do comparisons between the Diamond Select release and the NECA release? There you go, guys. That's it right there. Let me know down below. This will be interesting. Let me know down below what you think is the better Terrordog. NECA's original release or Diamond Select's release? And tell me why. Tell me your pros and your cons as to why one is better than the other. Maybe list the pros and cons for this one, the pros and cons for this one. And let me know down below what you think is the better Terrordog of the two. As always, guys, really appreciate when you guys like these videos. Commenting down below is always cool because I love chatting back and forth with you guys on what you guys think. And opinions are never right or wrong. They're just opinions. So, you know, if you think, for example, this is a superior Terrordog, that's your opinion. Same as some people might think that the NECA release of the Terrordog was a far superior figure. So again, always like hearing your comments down below. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below. You won't miss future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.